Hello guys, welcome to the fiction series. Today we are gonna see, what if Naruto x Bloom x Roxy x Stella? Part 4. If you want more awesome fanfiction like this, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. So without wasting any time, let's get into the video. Alfea, 1 week later. A week had passed since the monster incident, and the other girls had found out that Aisha confessed to Naruto. They congratulated her, and were happy about that. We now find our group calmly eating breakfast, while Kurama is happily digging into an omelette. Naruto suddenly gets a phone call from Brandon, so he puts it on speaker. "Hey Brandon, what do you need, man?" he asked, the other girls listening in. "Hey man. So Red Fountain is having an exhibition this evening to show off some of the specialists. Headmaster Saladin was wondering if you were interested in joining in the last event. It's a battle royale between the 47 freshman students. He's very intrigued by you. He also said you can invite the girls as well," said Brandon. Naruto looked at the girls, who shrugged and nodded in acceptance. He thought about it for a bit, before nodding and saying, "Sure man. Tell Headmaster Saladin that I'll participate." Cool. Also, there's something that me and Sky have to tell you guys after. So be sure to stick around, Brandon said before hanging up. "Man, it kinda seems unfair to put you up against all those specialists," said Bloom. "Yeah, they're gonna get creamed," added in Roxy, with all the other girls nodding in agreement. "Ah, come on guys, they're not that bad. They have a chance at beating me," said Naruto, trying to advocate for the specialists. The girls and Kurama all gave him a dry look. "Brat, you would murder most of them. The only ones who have a chance are Sky's group due to the training you gave them. And that's only if they gang up on you," Kurama said in a deadpan tone. Naruto nervously laughed, and scratched the back of his head. "I guess you have a point," he replied. Checking his watch for the time, he then gets up, saying, "Well, I'll see you guys before the exhibition. I'm gonna go into town for a bit." "Come on, Kurama," said Fox. Returned to the seal as Naruto kissed all his ladies goodbye. Magic City afternoon. We now find Naruto roaming the streets with bags in his hands. He had bought some groceries along with other miscellaneous items, and was making his way home to get prepared for the exhibition. As he was walking, he accidentally bumped into someone, knocking them down. As he moves to pick them up, he notices that it was Icy. Pepe was with her, relaxing on her shoulder. "Oh hey Icy, Pepe. Fancy meeting you here. How are you doing?" he said with a grin, as he pulled her up. Pepe jumped onto Naruto's face and gave him kisses. "Oh, it's you. Well, I'm doing fine, all things considered. Even though I ended up getting expelled for that last stunt we pulled," Icy said, shocking Naruto. "Damn, Griffin finally had enough, huh? You want to get something to eat and talk? I have some things to ask you about," he asked her. Icy nodded, not seeing any harm in it. Random rooftop. 30 minutes later, we now find Naruto and Icy sitting on a rooftop eating burritos, while Pepe chows down a small bowl of beans. Naruto found it funny how sloppy she was while eating. "Why are we doing this?" asked Icy, finishing her burrito. "Why are you being so nice to me? I've attacked you, tormented your friends, and been so mean to you guys. So why are we sitting here like we're regular friends? We should be trying to kill each other right now, but we're just chilling and eating food." "Well, it's because of your goal. You're not doing these things for yourself, but for someone else. Don't get it twisted. I don't like how you've been acting. But I still see some good in you," he said. "No, there's not. I'm the most evil witch in this generation. I thrive on negative emotions and the suffering of others," she said in a serious tone. "To achieve my goal, I have to be the most evil I can be. I have to get the dragon flame and reach a level of power that surpasses any known witch, even the ancestral witches. And after you're done achieving your goal, what will happen when the people you're trying to save become scared of the monster you will become? Because I know that's what you'll become if you don't find another path to save them," Naruto replied, staring her down. "Don't ruin your life, Icy. There are other ways." "Well, I don't know any other way but this way. I have to get strong, I have to save her, save my Sapphire," Icy yelled, but covered her mouth in shock at letting that name slip out. "Sapphire, huh? So that's the person you're trying to save? Come on, tell me more. Who is she to you?" he asked, putting a hand on her shoulder. "You can tell me and trust me to keep this to myself." Icy didn't know why, but something told her that she could trust him. He always felt so calm and approachable, radiating a kindness that attracted her. So she told him. How she was originally the Princess of Diamond and had a little sister named Sapphire, who she loved more than anything. Diamond was still thriving at that time, full of beautiful crystals and lush green fields. But that all eventually changed, when a shaman witch arrived. Icy and Sapphire had been playing on a hill above the kingdom when the witch arrived. She had asked for directions, though Sapphire made the mistake of standing up to someone stronger than her. The witch cursed Sapphire into the form of a snow fox, then asked Icy for directions. Realizing she was powerless to stop her, Icy gave in and sold out her kingdom. The witch placed a curse on Diamond, freezing it over, and was now ruling it. That's my story. That's why I'm so intent on becoming the strongest witch, and I need Bloom's dragon flame to do it, she said, finishing her tale. She watched as Naruto got up and moved towards her, before pulling her into a hug. What are you doing? Giving you a hug? I think it's been a long time since you've gotten one, so enjoy it, he said, holding her. Icy blushed at the contact, but hugged him tighter. She enjoyed the warmth he gave off, since it was a nice contrast to the cold feeling she exerted. This is nice, she said, burying her face into his chest and taking a whiff of his scent. He smells so nice. And these muscles aren't bad either. Before you asked me why I was so nice to you? Well, there's another reason. I think it's because you remind me of someone else I tried to save, but failed. His name was Sasuke Uchiha, Naruto said, causing Icy to look at him. When he was younger, his older brother went mad and slaughtered the entire Uchiha clan. But he only left Sasuke alive, torturing Sasuke by showing him the memory of his whole clan being eradicated. Damn, even I don't think I could be that cruel, Icy said, horrified. She had done some bad things, but not to that level of evil. She would never dream of doing that to her precious Sapphire. Yeah. Anyway, Sasuke ended up being set on the path of an avenger. He dedicated his whole life to training and finding power to defeat his brother Itachi. He acted like he lost everything, when he still had people who cared about him, said Naruto, continuing his tale. One day he was offered power by a trader of our village named Orochimaru, and he jumped at the offer. Me and a couple of friends were tasked with getting Sasuke back to the village. Orochimaru had sent his elite forces to deter us, but each of my friends stayed behind to handle them while I went after Sasuke. So who won your fight? Asked Icy, but she regretted asking when Naruto's face became cold. He stood up and began to remove his shirt, revealing the scar from Sasuke's chidori. Icy gasped at the scar. I ended up losing, with Sasuke piercing my lungs 2 times. If I didn't have my healing factor, I probably would have died. It was then that I realized how far gone Sasuke truly was. No, I think he was always like that, but just kept it well hidden, Naruto said. Icy moved closer to him, tracing his scar with her finger. There's another path, Icy, one that won't end with you becoming a monster. You're not as far gone as Sasuke, you still have good in you. Sasuke didn't accept the help of others, but you can. He stretched his hand towards her. I'll help you, but only if you abandon this path. Heck, maybe if you get in the girls' good graces, they'll help you out as well. Though Bloom will take some time getting used to you. I don't know. Naruto, I'll admit that you've become a friend to me, but I'm not sure, she said, gaining a nod of understanding. He grabbed her hand, with the other hand glowing blue as he inscribed a Horatian formula on her hand. I understand and I can be patient. That formula on your hand is my teleportation mark. When you decide on what you want, channel your mana into it. I'll be there in a flash, he said. Naruto took her by the chin and kissed her forehead, causing her to blush. He gave Peppa a little scratch on the head, saying, please make the right choice, Icy. I'd hate to lose a friend like you. He exited the rooftop, leaving Icy by herself. Abandon this path and ask for help, huh? She repeated, touching her forehead with her face still red. Is it really that easy? She leaves the roof, never noticing the 2 people who were listening in on the conversation. Red Fountain Arena, evening. After his talk with Icy, Naruto had met up with the Winx, and they made their way to Red Fountain for the exhibition. Most of the events were done, and it was now time for the battle royale between the 30 freshmen and Naruto. In the stands, the girls and Kurama were waiting patiently for the match to begin. Next to them were headmistresses Griffin and Farragonda, who were also invited. I wonder how Naruto is going to dish out the damage this time, asked Musa, already knowing how this was gonna end. Yeah, I mean he could really finish this pretty quickly, added Flora, with the other Winx nodding in agreement. Indeed, Mr. Namikaze is quite strong for his age. You don't see people that young and powerful a lot, said Griffin, with Farragonda nodding. It's nice seeing the younger generation becoming so reliable. It lets the older generation know that the future is in capable hands, she said with a content smile. By the way, Naruto isn't planning on using his more powerful abilities. He's limiting himself for this fight, using only his swords, said Kurama, intriguing the others. Oh yeah, I've been meaning to ask, but how does he carry all those weapons? Asked Aisha. Having seen Naruto's arsenal during training, he created his own form of magic using seals and his energy, which he calls Requip. It's a personal pocket dimension that he uses for storage, replied Kurama, fascinating the others. Aside from that, girls, I would like to apologize for the trouble Icy, Darcy, and Stormy have caused you. I have had them expelled from Cloud Tower, said Griffin, bowing to them. This shocked the girls. Headmistress Griffin, you don't have to apologize for the mistakes of the tricks. You have no influence on their behavior, said Bloom, with the other girls nodding in agreement. You should make sure they're monitored, though it will be difficult since they're no longer students, said Farragonda, with Griffin nodding in understanding. Turning to look at the field, she says, now let us stop all this talk about the tricks. The match is about to begin. Down on the field, we find Naruto getting ready for the battle royale. He was clad in a gold and black combat outfit he had recently made. 1. There was a ringing of a bell and all the warriors looked up to the special booth, where Saladin and his guests were spectating. With Saladin was a man with brown hair, light skin and brown eyes. He wears a crown and royal garb. This is Zerender, king of Heraklion and Sky's father. Next to him was a woman with red hair, light skin and green eyes. She wears a crown and royal garbs. This is Samara, queen of Heraklion and Sky's mother. With them is a young girl with pale blonde hair, light skin and orange eyes. She wears a tiara and royal garbs. This is Diaspro, girlfriend and fiancé of Sky. Saladin coughs a bit before speaking. Greetings everyone and welcome to the final event of Red Fountain's exhibition. We have for you a battle royale between our 47 freshman students and an extra fighter. The crowd applauded, ready for the exciting battle to come. Now then, let the battle royale begin. At that signal, Timmy made the first move, jumping in the air and shouting Heat Riser, casting a spell to boost his physical stats. He channeled mana into his fist and let loose a punch on the ground, reshaping the landscape. This separated everyone, with Naruto and each member of Sky's group facing multiple students. Naruto looked at the 7 rookies in front of him, before summoning Disuke and conjuring the ethereal swords, getting into a stance. He taunts them with a come at me gesture, saying, "Come on boys, what are you scared? Come on guys, he's just one dude!" shouted a brave rookie with a rapier, charging at Naruto. He sent multiple thrusts at Naruto's center, but his efforts were halted by the spectral swords positioning in front of Naruto and blocking the thrusts. Using the flat of his sword, Naruto whacked the guy into the ground, causing a small crater. Naruto turned to the others, asking who's next? They all charged at him, swinging their weapons in attempts to hit him. Moving over to another section of the field, we find Timmy maneuvering around his opponents, using his daggers and crossbow to combat them. Damn it, how the hell did he get this good? He was nothing at the beginning of the year, said a guy with sickles, trying and failing to knock Timmy down. Timmy knocked him away with a roundhouse kick and knocked a few others down with his daggers. I'm this strong because someone believed in me and helped me out. Let me show you just how powerful I've become, he said, summoning Balmung. He stabbed it into the ground and twisted the hilt, letting loose the mana stored in it. The earth below his opponents exploded and sent them flying. He dismissed his sword and wiped some sweat off his forehead, saying, "And that's that. I wonder how the others are doing." Over at Brandon's side, we find him calmly dispatching his opponents. He unleashes a strike air, blowing them into the air. He jumps and slashes at them all, before landing in a stylish crouch as his opponents crash into the ground. He turns to the groaning rookies saying, "Come on guys, that was too easy. I guess I'll look for Naruto or the other guys." He walks away from his downed classmates. We cut to Helia and Sky, surrounded by 14 of their fellow classmates. Helia whispers to Sky, "You stun them, then we both take them out." They nodded at the plan and set it in motion. Sky positioned his hand in front of his face and shouted Solar Flare, releasing a blinding light. While their opponents were stunned, Helia shouted Makugan, raining down multiple pillars on his side of enemies. Sky raised both his hands, generating 2 small suns and shouting double cruel sun, launching them at his side of enemies, blowing them to kingdom come and taking them out of the competition. The 2 teammates fists bumped and made their way to other sides to find any remaining opponents. Over on Riven's side, we find him viciously taking out his opponents. He grabs one guy by the face and slams him into the ground. He nails another guy in the crotch and throws him at 2 other guys. He gathered black winds and black fire gathered in his hands, shouting fusion spell, tornado flare, and clapping his hands together. A small tornado of dark winds and flames spewed out and captured the rest of his opponents, sending them into the air. He gains a fierce grin, summoning his sword and charging it with mana. He swings it upward, shouting strike air, releasing a powerful blast of black wind energy towards them and knocking them out of the fight. Don't you think that was a little overboard, Riven? You didn't have to use your sword full blast, said Naruto's voice behind him. He turned around and saw his group and Naruto standing there. Naruto continued, they would have been knocked out from that fusion spell. So what? It got the job done, didn't it? Anyway, it's just a 6 now, so how about we make this more interesting, Riven said, summoning his armor. The others responded in kind, summoning their swords and armor. Naruto switched to Enki and got in a stance. Up in Saladin's booth, Erender and Samara watched with a critical eye. Before Erender said, Saladin, I must say those armors and swords are quite fancy and high quality. I didn't know you made those for students. Actually, I wasn't the one who made them. It was actually the one in the gold and black combat suit. That is Naruto Namikaze, a self-taught fighter and Alfea's assistant librarian. He's been friends with Prince Sky's group for quite a while and made that gear as a gift. I have to say that he's probably going to be the victor of this royale. Oh please, like some nobody can beat my precious Sky. He'll stomp all those losers into the ground, said Diaspro in a haughty tone. I wouldn't speak so soon, Diaspro. I think Mr. Namikaze will surprise you, spoke Samara, watching with battle interest. Meanwhile, on the other side of the stands, we find the girls and Kurama were cheering for Naruto and Sky's group. What did I tell you? Those other rookies stood no chance against them. Now we just have to see how the others handle Naruto, said Kurama in a proud tone. True. Even though Naruto is limiting himself, he still has a better advantage against them, said Tekna, gaining a nod from the others. Yeah, I mean he did create their weapons, so he must know how to get around and defend against them, said Stella. Back in the arena, we find the guys focusing on taking Naruto out. Naruto is locked in a clash with Timmy and Helia, as Riven, Brandon, and Sky let loose their magic to try and nail Naruto while he was occupied. Ajidine! Shouted Riven, releasing black flames. Kugan! Shouted Brandon, releasing a pillar of light. Cruel sun! Shouted Sky, releasing a mini sun. The attacks converged towards Naruto, as Timmy and Helia disengaged from him, letting the attacks hit him. This caused an explosion, kicking up dust and obscuring the specialist's vision. Did we get him? Asked Timmy. I think so, said Riven, hoping he was right. The dust settled, revealing Naruto covered in a thin layer of Kurama's chakra, his eyes crimson red. Nice try, but you'll have to do better, said Naruto with a teasing grin. He then got into a thinking position, before snapping his fingers and saying, you know what, I want to end this soon. So I want you guys to hit me, as hard as you can. Oh, is that right? Well, you can now hold on. You might have misheard me, started Riven, but he was interrupted by Naruto. Not half as hard, not some arbitrary percentage. I want you to hit me. As hard as you can. Oh yeah? And what if I don't think you can handle that? Said Riven, trying to taunt Naruto. Huh, I guess you really are Darcy's little bitch then, said Naruto, the crowd oohing at that burn. Riven's face grew furious at that comment. Oh, you think you're funny, huh? HRA! Shouted Riven, charging at Naruto. Riven, no! Shouted Helia, trying to stop him. Riven, yes! Shouted Riven, jumping in the air with his sword charged up. He swung down hard, unleashing an energy wave at his opponent. But Naruto sidestepped it and nailed him hard in the crotch, causing Riven to let out a girlish scream, while the men in the audience cringed. Naruto grabbed him by the hair and whispered in his ear, don't think I don't remember that shit you pulled when Musa was being chased by those witches. He then spun Riven around and tossed him into the barrier, knocking him out of the competition. Naruto turned to the rest of the group, a feral grin on his face. He gave them a come-at-me gesture and said see he didn't listen and he paid for it with his dignity. Now as I said, hit me as hard as you can. The guys nodded to each other and jumped back, putting some distance between them and Naruto. They raised their blades to the sky and began chanting, "The evil dragon shall fall and the world will reach its twilight," intoned Timmy, his blade glowing a light yellow light. Ba-mung, yes. Let's put an end to this. The gathering breath of the star. The shining torrent of life, intoned Brandon, his blade glowing a golden light. Excalibur Yang, the blade of this holy sword is a copy of the sun itself. Holy sword of the stars, swing once again, intoned Sky, his blade glowing in orange light. Excalibur Sunbright, reaching the very end, beyond the boundaries. King on the other side, look at this light, intoned Helia, his blade glowing a blue light. Arondite Overload, they all got into a stance and slashed down, releasing the power of their swords and energy waves that combined and converged on Naruto's position. Naruto grinned and got in a stance and his hands glowed red. He moved them in a circular motion, creating a red portal that ate the blast, shocking the others. He then flipped into the air right above them and opened another portal, which shot their attacks back at them. It hit them dead on, causing a massive explosion that shook the stadium and kicked up dust. When the dust cleared, Timmy, Helia, Brandon, and Sky were all sprawled around the ground, groaning in pain. My word, was that portal magic? That's pretty advanced magic to learn. And to use it so creatively, said Faragonda in awe. Indeed, though it shouldn't be surprising that he's learned something so advanced, said Griffin, praising the boy. But doesn't he have that teleportation technique with the markings? Asked Roxy, wondering what the point was in learning it. It's mostly because he doesn't want to be a carbon copy of his father, who was famous for that technique. So he recently found portal magic which functioned differently and worked on learning it. He hasn't mastered it though, since he's only able to make the portals at a short distance, said Kurama, with the others nodding and understanding. Still it's impressive that he got it battle ready by now, said Faragonda, impressed by his progress. Over in Saladin's booth, both Arender and Samara were impressed by the fight and were applauding Naruto for a wonderful show. Though Diaspro thought otherwise, he cheated. This is a weapons fight, no magic allowed. Disqualify him, Headmaster Saladin, she demanded, though Saladin shook his head. Actually, there was no rule saying magic couldn't be used. Besides, Sky and his group used magic as well. So shouldn't I disqualify them as well? He said, shutting Diaspro up. Besides, I'm quite impressed by his use of portal magic. Using it to redirect your opponent's attacks instead of using it to dodge is creative. On this talk of magic, I've never known Sky to be one to use magic. I wonder where he learned it from, said Samara, curious about how her son became proficient in magic. It was actually young Naruto who helped Sky and his friends learn magic as well, said Saladin, causing the king and queen of Heraklion to become more impressed with Naruto. I'm going to go check on Sky, said Diaspro, transforming into her fairy form and flying down into the arena. Well guys, it looks like I win. You tried your best though, said Naruto with a grin, looking down at the guys as they groan from their injuries while he heals them. Sky! Shouts a voice behind him as he heals Brandon. He is shoved out of the way by Diaspro, who begins fussing over Brandon. She fixes Naruto with a glare, saying, how could you hurt my precious Sky? Wait, you're saying he's Sky? Said Naruto, with Diaspro nodding. He turned to Sky, asking then, does that mean you're actually Brandon? He nodded, while rubbing the back of his head. Yeah. This is the thing we wanted to talk to you about, but it seems that someone can't keep their mouth shut, said the now revealed Brandon, glaring at Diaspro. Watch your mouth, Brandon. You're just a lowly squire, while I am Sky's fiancé, she shot back, shocking Naruto. He turned to Sky with a disbelieving look. Hold up, you're marrying her. Damn bro, from what I've seen so far, she's pretty snobby. I do not envy you, said Naruto, getting a gasp from Diaspro and a nod from Sky. Yeah, it's a political marriage I can't get out of. Anyway, let's move this conversation somewhere else, said Sky. Naruto nodded at this and signaled to the girls to meet him inside. Sky signaled for his parents to meet him inside as well. Conference room, 1 hour later. After the exhibition finished and the crowd dispersed, we now find Naruto, Kurama, the Winx, Sky, Brandon, along with King Arender and Queen Samara in a private room in the school. Before we talk, everyone, I'd like to introduce you to my parents, King Arender and Queen Samara, started Sky, gesturing to his parents, who waved. Your Majesty, said everyone else, bowing to the king and queen. Greeting, children, it's nice to meet friends of our son. Especially you, young Naruto, said Samara, surprising Naruto. We were quite entertained by your performance during the battle royale. We also want to thank you for helping out Sky and his group with training. It's nice to know our son has such a resourceful friend. I'm honored by your words, Your Majesty. It is truly kind to meet the beautiful woman who brought my good friend into this world, replied Naruto, kissing Samara's hand. He then stretched his hand out to shake Arender's hand, saying, it's very nice to meet you, King Arender. Same to you, young Naruto, said Arender, shaking the boy's hand in response. Is it true you work at Alfea as an assistant librarian? I'm surprised they haven't hired you as a combat instructor, with how good you are. This got the girls thinking, all of them looking at each other nodding. I'm not that good. I still have things to learn, said Naruto, chuckling and scratching the back of his head. Anyway, let me introduce you to the Winx. We have Bloom, Flora, Stella, Musa, Roxy, Tekna and Aisha. Said girls waved and did their own little greetings. He turned to Sky and Brandon, asking, now don't you two have something to explain to us? They nodded at that. Well, back on Heraklion, there's this wealthy man named Lord Yoshinoya. He's been lusting for the throne for a long time, and has been making threats and attempts on my family ever since me and Brandon were kids, started Sky, shocking Naruto and the Winx. Before me and Sky started at Red Fountain, he got a little more brave. He sent his goons to infiltrate the tower, and came this close to attacking the royal family, said Brandon, holding his thumb and index finger close to each other. Thankfully, the guards were able to apprehend them, so to divert any of Yoshinoya's attention away from me, Brandon as my squire decided to switch identities with me. We decided to keep this up until Yoshinoya was either captured or taken out, said Sky. Him and Brandon bowed to Naruto, and the girls were sorry for lying to you about our identities. We know that you might have lost some trust in us for that. Yeah guys, sorry about that. We just wanted to be careful, said Brandon in remorse. Naruto looked at the two of them, before turning to the girls and receiving nods from them. He turned back to Sky and Brandon, saying, guys, put your heads up. You don't have to apologize for this. This shocked Brandon and Sky. Yeah, I mean you barely knew us back then. How could we expect you to spill your personal secrets? Said Bloom with a smile. But now, we've trained together, hung out together and gotten to know each other. We've bonded over the semester, so you don't have to hide things from us anymore. I assume that's why you decided to tell us today, correct? Said Kurama, gaining a nod from Brandon and Sky. So don't worry about it. We completely understand why you kept this from us till now, said Stella, with all the others nodding. You know what we need right now? Group hug, said Naruto, grabbing Sky and Brandon, while the girls moved toward them for a hug. Arender and Samara smiled at the close bond between them. The hug lasted for a few moments, before they let go of each other. Well, it's getting late, children, and my wife and I have to fly back to Heraklion. You all should be heading home as well. It was nice meeting you all, said Arender, waving them goodbye with Samara. The Winx and Naruto said their goodbyes as well and made their way out of Red Fountain, Naruto's house. 1 week later. It has been a week since Sky and Brandon's reveal, and things have been going smoothly for our protagonists. It was morning time in the first week of January 2017, and we now find Naruto, Kurama and Bloom sitting in his living room, brainstorming on how Bloom can get more information about who she really is. Bloom suddenly snaps her fingers, saying, I got it. I know a way to get more info about myself. All I need you to do is try and help me force a connection with Daphne. Naruto and Kurama thought about it, before Kurama said, that might work. I could use a gain jutsu to force you in your mind, though you'll be on your own to find the connection. But are you sure you want to do this? It could take a while. Bloom nodded and said, yeah, let's do it. I'm kinda tired of hitting dead ends on my search. Kurama nodded at this. Alright then. Kitsune Illusion Series. Subdue, shouted Kurama, weaving hand signs and casting the gain jutsu and knocking Bloom unconscious. Naruto then picked her up and laid her on the couch. He turned to Kurama and said, hey, let's go pick up some groceries while she does her thing. Kurama nodded and hopped on his shoulder as Naruto walked out, locking the door behind him. Bloom's mindscape. We find Bloom floating in the void, the giant red dragon in her mind doing stunts and other tricks. She got herself in a crisscross position and began to focus. Alright, Daphne, I know you're out there. So please respond to me, she said as she closed her eyes and focused all her mental power on finding and establishing a link with Daphne. Unknown to her, the dragon began to glow with power and channeled it into Bloom. This went on for a while, before Bloom heard a voice speak out. It seems you're coming along well, my sweet Bloom. Opening her eyes, there stood Daphne in all her glory. Bloom got up and floated towards Daphne and hugged her, holding her tight. You're here. You don't know how many questions I have, Bloom said in relief. But Daphne shook his head. While you did succeed in making a connection, it isn't strong enough, she said, causing Bloom's head to droop. But I can tell you a few things and point you in the right direction. Bloom nodded in acceptance of this. Well, first off, we are related. I'm your older sister. This shocked Bloom and also made her happy that she had some semblance of a living family. If you're my sister, then how did I end up on Earth? Said Bloom, curious. The reason you ended up on Earth is because I sent you there. You, Bloom, are the lost princess of Domino's royal family. You also hold the power of the dragon flame, a gift from the great dragon to the royal family of Domino, said Daphne, with Bloom's eyes widening in shock. Suddenly a great shadow covered them. Turning around, they saw the giant dragon. Greetings, hatchling. It's nice to finally speak with you, said the dragon in a surprisingly feminine tone. Wait, you can talk? And why do you sound like a girl? Said Bloom, with Daphne sharing the same question. Indeed. I am the manifestation of your dragon flame. And the reason I sound so feminine is because most of my hosts have been female. Allow me to take a more suitable form, said the dragon as it exploded in a red light. When the light died down, there stood a beautiful woman. She had red hair, light skin and brown eyes. She wears a black witch-like garb, complete with a witch hat. The most unique thing about her is the dragon scales and claws on her hands too. Wow, you look great. But what should I call you then? Asked Bloom, causing the dragon woman to think for a bit. I know. You shall call me Irene from now on, said the now named Irene, gaining a nod from Bloom and Daphne. Now with that out of the way, I can give you a final piece of information. If you want to know more about yourself, then go to the planet of Domino. Your answers shall be there, said Daphne, with Bloom nodding. Daphne began to fade away and said, well, it looks like our time is up. It was nice to properly talk to you for a while. Goodbye, Bloom. Bloom waved her sister goodbye with tears in her eyes. Irene walked over to Bloom and hugged her, saying, do not cry, hatchling. You will surely see her again. Now it's time for you to wake up. Bloom nodded and disappeared from her mindscape. Trix's hideout. At that same time, I'm back, guys, and I brought breakfast, shouted Stormy, walking into the abandoned warehouse that they took refuge in. Darcy and Icy were sitting at a makeshift table, as Stormy placed their food in front of them. They all began eating. So how are we going to get the dragon flame from Bloom? Asked Icy, but Darcy and Stormy just looked at her funny. All of a sudden she choked and began coughing. She fell to the ground, feeling weak all of a sudden. What's cough happening to me? Oh, Icy, sweet Icy. You really think we're dumb? We heard your conversation with that Naruto guy last week, said Darcy, causing Icy to gasp. You really think you could betray us and get away with it, bitch? Well, think again. Now to teach you a lesson, yelled Stormy, kicking Icy in the stomach, causing said girl to spit take. Icy tried to crawl away, but she was blasted by Darcy, then blocked by a barrier. Stormy began to shock her, causing her to scream and flail as tears began to form in her eyes. Darcy began to join in, blasting her with illusions that showed her her worst nightmares. Stormy and Darcy wore sadistic grins throughout the whole thing. After a few moments they stopped, with Darcy saying, you know, Stormy, since Icy isn't in on our plan anymore, I guess she doesn't need her powers anymore. Stormy saw where Darcy was going with this and gave Icy an evil grin, while Icy's eyes widened in fright. Darcy and Stormy raised their hands, sickly green energy gathering in their hands as they chanted, dark spell that we cast. Deprive this witch of her magic and make it last. Absorb her power and make it ours. The energy shot out and hit Icy, raising her into the air and draining her magic. It is then transferred to Darcy and Stormy. Icy screamed in pain as her magic was ripped out of her, weakening her even more. It eventually stops and Icy drops to the ground, panting heavily and dropping out of her witch form. Stormy and Darcy grinned menacingly as they glowed with power. As this was going on, Pepe was napping in a basket. But the sound of Icy's screams woke him up, as he saw his mother being hurt by people who were supposed to be her friends. He jumped in front of her screaming, "Mommy! Leave Mommy alone! Pepe, stop! Get out of here! You can't stand up to them!" shouted Icy in warning. She didn't want to see her little baby get hurt. "Oh? The little ugly duckling is trying to save its stupid mother, huh? Well, you can join her in suffering," said Stormy, as she and Darcy blasted Pepe. But surprisingly, Pepe stood his ground and started glowing. "Stay away from Mommy!" shouted Pepe, exploding in a white light. When it died down, there stood Pepe in a different form. He was in the form of a huge purple swan with an orange beak. On his head was a crown with multiple jewels. He towered over Darcy and Stormy, shouting, "You will not bring harm to my mother any longer." Megiddo! He released his magic, dropping small explosions on top of Stormy and Darcy. But they were able to defend themselves against the blast. "Damn it, what the hell? Since when was that stupid duck packing this kind of power?" shouted Stormy, frustrated. "That's not important. We'll retreat and execute our plan to take Bloom's dragon flame today. Then no one will stand in our way," said Darcy, with Stormy nodding in agreement. They teleported away to prepare to enact their plan. Seeing that the aggressors have evacuated, Pepe turned to his mother, saying, "Will you be all right, Mother?" Icy gave him a weak smile and pet his beak. "Though I'm really drained, I'll try and sleep it off. While I do that, find your father. I would use the mark he gave me, but it seems to have been burned off. Can you do that for me, my darling swan?" asked Icy, with Pepe nodding. "Understood, Mother. I will find father while you take time to rest," said Pepe, flapping his wings and flying out the hole in the wall he made. As Icy's eyes began to close, she thought, "Naruto, looks like I ended up having no choice but to join you. I just hope I'll be able to confess to you in time." Magic City, 2 hours later. We now find Naruto and Kurama roaming the streets, while Naruto carries bags with more groceries. All of a sudden there was a loud flapping noise, causing them to turn around and see a giant purple swan with a crown flying towards them. "Father! Uncle! You need to come with me. Mother is injured," it shouted. Naruto was confused as to why it was calling him father, till his eyes widened in realization. "Pepe, is that you, my son?" asked Naruto, with the swan nodding its head. "You've gotten so big. But what's this about Icy being injured? She was betrayed by the ones known as Darcy and Stormy. They heard your conversation with her last week and deducted that she betrayed them. So they drained her of her magic and were going to finish her off. But thankfully I achieved my evolution to defend her and scare them off," said Pepe. "But right now Mother needs healing. Climb on my back, father, uncle. We must make haste." Naruto and Kurama nodded and hopped on Pepe's back. The swan then took off towards Icy's location, Trix's ex-hideout. 1 hour later, they eventually reached the abandoned building, with Naruto jumping off of Pepe and rushing to Icy. He begins healing whatever damage he can, causing Icy to wake up. "Oh, hey Naruto. Looks like I'm taking your offer now." "I have no choice since I'm powerless now," said Icy as she began to tear up. "All that hard work for nothing. I feel so useless right now." Naruto held her in a hug as she cried, rubbing her back to soothe her. After a few moments she calms down, and says thanks for coming. Naruto lifts Icy up into a princess carry, saying, "Was there any doubt? I said I would be there for you. Now let's get you to Alfea to get you properly checked on." Naruto, Darcy and Stormy said they're making their move on Bloom today. "I never heard how though, since they betrayed me before we could talk about it," said Icy, causing Naruto and Kurama's eyes to widen. "Oh funking hell, Bloom," cursed Kurama in worry. "Shit. Bloom's vulnerable right now. They could do anything to get her," he said. He turned to Pepe and said, "Son, fly us to Alfea. We need to hurry." Pepe nodded and they all hopped on his back. He took off for Alfea, using his magic to boost his speed. Alfea Courtyard, 30 minutes later. "And you just let her run off to Earth?" shouted Faragonda, scolding the Winx. They told her that Bloom had left for Earth about an hour ago, saying she had something personal to handle. "None of you tried to go with her?" "Sorry, but she looked super worried. And when some of us offered to come, she shook it off and said it wasn't needed," said Roxy. Suddenly they all heard a large flapping noise, looking up to see a giant glowing purple swan. On its back was Naruto, Kurama and an injured Icy. Naruto and Kurama jumped off, with Naruto carrying Icy in his arms. My word, Naruto, what happened to her? Asked Farragonda, rushing over and checking up on Icy. Her eyes widened and she gasped, her magic, it's almost completely gone. Me and Icy have kinda been hanging out as friends for a while. Recently, I tried to convince Icy to switch sides and her partners heard our conversation. They turned on Icy and drained her magic, taking it for themselves, said Naruto, shocking the rest of the Winx and Farragonda. Guys, they plan on stealing the dragon flame from Bloom. Did you just say Bloom has the dragon flame? And that's what the tricks have been after the whole time? Asked Roxy, the others equally shocked. Yeah, she does. I had found out during that time Musa was cornered by the witches and Bloom snapped, said Naruto, causing Musa to flinch. The dragon flame actually took possession of her and spoke to me. So you're saying it's sentient? That's intriguing, said Farragonda in awe before shaking it off. That's not important right now. Naruto, the girls told me that Bloom had run off to Earth an hour ago, saying she had something personal to handle. Naruto cursed at that. Damn it, Darcy and Stormy must have baited her home to ambush her. It will take us a while, but Stella and Roxy, I need you guys to come with me to Earth right now. Said girls nodded, understanding that their sister-in-law needed them. Naruto handed Icy to Farragonda, saying, Ms. Farragonda, make sure she gets treated properly. You have nothing to worry about, Naruto. I will make sure she is taken care of properly, said Farragonda, promising to him. Naruto nodded and turned to Kurama, Stella and Roxy, saying, alright guys, let's head out. He made his way out of the courtyard. Right, they shouted, following after him in a hurry. Gardenia, 1 hour later. After reaching Gardenia by space bus, our group made their way to Bloom's house with haste, not sure if she was alright or not. Reaching her house, they saw that the door was wide open and rushed inside. There was Bloom, kneeling in front of her parents, who were unconscious and had minor bruises. Bloom looked really weak and close to collapsing. She began to fall back, but instead of the cold ground, she was caught in the warm embrace of her boyfriend. Bloom, what happened? Asked Naruto, checking to see if she was still with them. Kurama and the others went to check on Vanessa and Mike, Darcy and Stormy. They tortured my parents and held them hostage, threatening to kill them if I didn't hand over the dragon flame. They also made sure that I didn't come with anyone or else they would kill my parents. It was honestly a no-brainer for me. Even though I'm grateful for my powers, I would trade them away if it meant the safety of my loved ones, she said as her eyes began to droop. They drained me of the dragon flame's power, but they weren't able to take it away from me, though I don't think they noticed. I used what was left of my power to heal my parents, bringing them away from death's door. Don't worry, we'll take them with us to Alfea and get them healed up, said Stella, assuring her sister-in-law. Bloom gave her a weak smile. That's good. I think I'm gonna take a nap. I'm really tired right now, she said, yawning. Her eyes drooped down, till she was unconscious and resting. Naruto picked Bloom up in a princess carry, then turned to the others, saying, all right guys, grab her parents and let's discreetly get them back to Alfea. The others nodded at this and grabbed Vanessa and Mike, then followed Naruto out the house. Alfea, 1 hour later. We now find the Winx and Naruto in Farragonda's office. Bloom had rested up and was awake now, though her parents were in the infirmary. They were put in a medical coma to help them heal. Bloom, are you alright? Do you feel any different? Questioned Farragonda. I'm fine physically, but I can barely use magic now. I can't hear Irene either, she replied, confusing the others. Irene? Who's that? Asked Roxy. Oh yeah, I was able to bridge a temporary connection with Daphne. I also learned that my dragon flame is sentient, and her name is Irene, Bloom replied. Everyone nodded in understanding. That's good. Did you learn anything new from Daphne? Asked Tekna, with Bloom nodding. Well, I'm the lost princess of Domino and Daphne is my older sister, she said, shocking everybody. No way. But then that makes sense why you have magic and your parents don't, said Musa, thinking it over. She turned to Naruto and grinned, saying 3 princesses all to yourself, huh? You must be feeling pretty lucky. Naruto grabbed Bloom and hugged her. It's not that big of a deal. I love her regardless of her backstory, he said, smothering her with his love. The others smiled at the display of affection. Anyway, Daphne sent me to Earth to keep me away from the ancestral witches. It turns out that Darcy and Stormy were their descendants, said Bloom, dropping another bomb on them. Also, I noticed Icy wasn't with them. What's up with that? Turns out Naruto befriended Icy and convinced her to join our side. Unfortunately, Stormy and Darcy caught on and attacked Icy for betraying them, said Flora, shocking Bloom. Wow, that's interesting, I guess, said Bloom, not sure how to feel about one of her tormentors now being her ally. Indeed. Aside from that, the news of Darcy and Stormy being descendants of the ancestral witches is quite worrying. I'm afraid they might try something drastic now that they have the dragon flame in their grasps, said Faragonda. Unfortunately, we're in the dark until they make their move. So until then, I'm going to need you all to be on the lookout. I'll warn Saladin and Griffin as well, along with my staff. Headmistress Faragonda, I plan on taking a visit to Domino. There may be something there that can help me get back to 100%, said Bloom. Faragonda thought about it for a bit and nodded. I will allow it, Bloom, but who do you plan on taking with you? She asked. Well, obviously Naruto. Then I'll take Stella and Roxy as well. I want to leave the rest of the Winx here just in case Darcy and Stormy pull something, said Bloom, gaining a nod from Naruto, Roxy and Stella. She turned to the other Winx, asking, are you guys okay with that? That is understandable, replied Tekna with a shrug. I'm cool with it, said Musa, waving her off. It's okay. Go do what you need to do, said Flora with an encouraging smile. Ditto, said Aisha, shrugging. Alright then. Now let's get prepared for our trip, guys. Once I'm back to full strength, we'll be ready for whatever those witches have in store for us, said Bloom, pumping her fist in the air. Yeah! Shouted everyone else. So this part ends here. Alright, that's it for today's video, guys. Let me know in the comments section how was the story. And also don't forget to like, share and subscribe. I will meet you in another video. Bye bye.